Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing out there? Um, this is the first time I've ever done Facebook, excuse me, YouTube Live. So tonight's going to be an interesting one, and hopefully we're going to have some folks show up. So going to wait a couple moments here and yammer on, and do me a favor if you're watching this and you missed the live. Go down and hit that subscribe button and like, share, and subscribe. So, if you're out there, do me a favor and let me know if you can hear me and if I'm coming through okay. Again, this is my very first YouTube live. I've done these before on Facebook in my Facebook group, but I've never done it here on YouTube. And I was hoping to be able to share the screen and things like that because there's some things that I wanted to share with you, but I haven't been able to figure out the software. So I've got some brand new software that I'm using and everything. Uh, Debbie Roush says President Trump is on, and I'll watch the replay. Oh man, I'm missing Trump. Oh shoot, that's a drag. So um, go Trump. So, but yeah, a couple things here again is like, share, subscribe, and again, this is my first YouTube, so I'm kind of excited, and this is going to be very raw. So, but several topics that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. One is, I mean, with everything going on out there, it's crazy. The prices and stuff that's going on. I mean, the one we're seeing a lack of fertilizer, and I'm sure you guys know this already. But fertilizer is through the roof right now. It's going to be very hard to come by, and it's really hurting the farmers and ranchers here in the US. In fact, I was talking to a rancher just about a week or so ago, and it costs him $3,000 for a 50-pound bag of seed to create the crops that is he's going to then feed his flock and his herd, his cow herd. But on top of that, his fertilizer cost has gone through the roof. Not only his seed cost, he was paying about $1,500 for a 50-pound bag of seed. He's now paying $3,000 for a bag of corn seed. And so it's pretty crazy for him. And then I was talking to another farmer, and they farm what 8,000 acres, I believe. And so they're a big commercial farmer, but their fertilizer cost has just gone through the roof. Where years prior, they were paying about $30,000 to fertilize all 8,000 acres. And now it's costing them well over $100,000 in just fertilizer alone. That's not talking about seed cost or anything like that, but it's really hitting the farmers and the ranchers rather hard. And then with last year's drought and things taking place in Texas and that northern area where a lot of our beef is coming from, these ranchers have been hit hard. One, because of the drought, they don't have any grass or feed plots to really graze their cattle and everything. And then two, again, they kind of till up the land, and they plant seed and stuff in hopes that that will grow and give feed plot and stuff. I used to live on a 400-acre ranch, and it was interesting to see how this developed and how it went on. And James, the owner of the ranch, was telling me if he sells off his females or his breeding stock, it takes him about 10 years to rebuild his herd back up to what he had prior. And so a lot of ranchers were actually selling their breed stock because they just couldn't afford to feed them anymore. And so if you've been kind of keeping an eye on hamburger meat around November took a dip, and that's because a lot of the meat being sold is basically breeding stock. Hey, Grinch, how you doing, bud? And thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Folks, if you have any questions or comments or anything, again, hit the comment and let me know you're here. Let me know if you can hear me okay and stuff. But there's just so much taking place today, and I'm a huge proponent of getting your garden started. And I'm really, really concerned because what we produced last year is the food that we are going to be eating this year. And so not much was produced, and you know it, I know it. The beef and poultry arenas have been hit hard from last year to present. The grains also, the USDA put out their final numbers with how much the US produced. All the numbers came in way low. And so what that means is that the carryover, what was left to feed the 2022 year, what was left was our carryover. And start watching prices for grain, particularly corn and wheat, because corn and wheat are going to be severely hit coming around March, because the carryover that we had was from that period, and that carryover is only going to last till about March, and it isn't till about June, July that we're going to start seeing more wheat and corn even starting to come to market. And so it's going to be really, really hard for folks, and specifically in the grain arena. So I really encourage, I myself, what we do is that we stock up on wheat, rice, corn, things like that, and we keep them in 5 gallon buckets and stuff. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Um, and Mr. Grinch says, my garden was a dud last year. Interesting. And I heard that from a lot of gardeners. My garden didn't produce as much either. Now, I have to admit, this is the first year we just moved here from Texas and we live in Virginia. We live in the Blue Ridge Mountain area. And so kind of the Appalachians and stuff. But that was our first year of garden here. And yeah, my garden did not really produce much. I didn't even really get any tomatoes. And I mean, it was horrible. We did get a lot of eggplant, and we got a lot of radishes and things like that. But I augmented the soil quite a bit and fertilized properly and everything. But yeah, we didn't get much, and I've been hearing a lot of that. Several YouTubers have been talking about the chemtrails, and it's interesting. I've been seeing a lot of chemtrails here in our area. In fact, just the other day, I swear it looked like a checkerboard. There were just like streaks going this way and then streaks going that way. It was like a checkerboard, and so I'm just wondering if what they are spraying is affecting the ground and falling into the ground, and really not doing well for the dirt and stuff. So Grinch, you're not the only one who's had a dud garden. I'm really working hard at doing a good garden this year. I'm really, really planning hard. And what I wanted to do is kind of share kind of some of my thoughts on what things that I'm doing, and then also help you with some ideas on how to get your things going. We're coming into the beginning of February, and so January everybody kind of takes a rest, in a sense, a rest in the preppers arena, and February is garden planting month, and at least it is for me, and that's when I've always planned my garden. So what I'm doing is planning it out and plotting it out. Where I was only going to add one more row to our garden, but with everything going on, I'm really looking at adding 2 more rows, and then I'm going to be adding an archway as well, to a long row of archway for a lot of the climbing plants, and really leverage the climbers so that we can really get a lot more, start growing vertically versus growing out. And so I'm going to be planting a lot of squashes and pumpkins, cucumbers, and a lot of the climbers up on trellises and things. He says, I'm going to try some sugar cane this year. That'll be interesting. I guess you live in an area where it's somewhat warm, so you're able to do that. That's good to know. Down in Texas, or actually, when I lived in Panama and lived in Costa Rica, there was a lot of sugar cane. And so they sugarcane juice. I mean, it was really great. You get some fresh sugarcane juice, and really good for you. Very high in actually high in vitamins and nutrients. Very high in sugar, of course, but it was actually rather good for you. It was kind of a local remedy if you had some ailments, particularly stomach issues and energy issues and things like that. Um, so, but yeah, we saw a lot of sugarcane down there, and loved living down in Central America. I really enjoyed it a lot, and eventually just came back, and I did the whole expat thing and stuff. So, but some of the things I'm hoping to encourage you guys is, really put a plan in place and think about what it is you're going to be doing on your garden. And I use a great app. It's called Grow Veg, and I'm not making any money off this or anything like that. So, but it is a great app, and let's see if I can find. Um, since I don't have the ability to do screens, hopefully you guys can see this. This is my garden plan for this year, and I'm going to be adding 2 more rows and then another row down here. And this right here is my climbers, but I'm thinking about moving it down here and have all that be our climbers and stuff. So, but we're really looking at putting in a way bigger garden because again, I'm super concerned about the food prices and the food production. And again, with the cost of diesel, the cost of fertilizer, and the cost of seed, food is going to get to a pretty high price point. But the thing is, what I believe is going to happen, because a lot of people, oh, there's never going to be a famine and or anything like that. We're never going to run out of food, and I actually agree with all that. The problem is I'm really concerned with people who may not afford food anymore, or they're going to be eating the high carb, junk food. I mean, when you look at caloric intake, I mean, it's cheaper for someone to go down to the snack aisle and get those cheese and crackers and granola bars and junk food. You'll get more calories that way at a cheaper price versus real food, which is good for you and healthy for you at a much higher price. And so I really think that as the prices go up, more and more people are going to be pushed out of the healthy food market and pushed into basically the junk food market. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but I think it was the USDA. The USDA came out recently, and they've augmented their food pyramid and everything. And where in the olden days you'd have beef and veggies and eggs and poultry and then grains and cereals and stuff like that. But now what they've done is they basically put junk food at the top of the food pyramid, saying that like stuff like Lucky Charms and Ho-Hos and other, I mean, just junk is better for you versus actually eating a great healthy diet. HT6, yeah, that chart is crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe what they were saying. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, with it's amazing. You look at pictures of people back in the 1950s, uh, thin, trim, fit, looking good, and everything. What happened from the 1950s till today? I mean, now again, today we have a lot of the GMO junk and processed foods and all this other stuff. But how were they eating in the 50s and looking so good versus eating today? And I think today's diet and what they've done to food and everything has really caused people to almost become obese. And it's just insanity to see and everything. And it's a lot harder, staying fit today. You got to really exercise more and everything. Now, me myself, I tend to lean more towards a low carb diet. When I really want to lose weight, I jump on the keto bandwagon, and that really helps a lot and everything. But if I'm eating junk food and everything, I mean, I just kind of pack it on. But, it's crazy out there, folks. I mean, it's just insane. But, I digress. One of the things I wanna share here, let me give you this URL. I've got a bunch of URLs that I wanna share with you tonight as we talk and everything, but one of them here is the Grow Veg, and Grow Veg is a great website. And again, this is my food plot or my food plan for this year, my garden plan, and we may even add more to this. Now with Grow Veg, I've actually plotted out our entire yard and or our entire property and things. So not only do I have garden and everything, I have a separate herbal area. I've been putting in fruit trees. My goal is to put in fruit trees. We have a little bit of property where we have a stream and then also some kind of forest land, but I'm looking at putting in plugs in some of our oak trees and some of the fall oak trees, and putting in like some chicken of the woods, which is a very healthy, great tasting fungus. I'm looking at maybe cultivating and putting in some morels, which grow here really nicely, as well as shiitake. We have a lot of down trees, and so I want to use these trees and see if we can start moving them and getting them to start to produce for us. If we've got this little chunk of land that is kind of forest-like, and we got a stream, I want to maybe start doing what's called forest gardening. And there's a really good book about it. In fact, do I see it? Here it is. Excuse me. For those of you who are interested in growing a wild garden, this is a great book. It's called Farming the Woods, and I'm still reading this. It's got a lot of great ideas in it, but I really highly recommend start thinking about if you have some area around you, go out there and maybe start planting and putting some stuff into the woods. Now, the negative of farming in the woods is it takes a lot longer to get established. For example, ramps. Ramps are kind of a cross between, well, basically it's wild onions or wild garlic, and but it's a cross between onions and garlic. And so I bought a bunch of ramp seeds, and in doing my research, planting them by this little creek that we have, I'm going to take that, plant that area, cultivate it, and plant ramps. Now, planting ramps takes about 1 to 3 years to really get established. But once you have a ramp crop going, they will continue producing and continue because they flower and they drop seeds and everything, and you'll see that ramp crop grow. And the ramps really good. I don't know if you've ever tried ramps before, but they're super, super good, very tasty, and things like that. And then again, putting in some chicken over the woods or hen of the woods in some of the oak trees and the fallen oak trees, some shiitakes. I'm looking into some other veggies and some other things that I can plant. Our problem too is we've got deer, and so I need to think about what can we plant that the deer will not bother as well. I'm really thinking about experimenting with garlic and putting some garlic out into the forest as well and see what we can do there. Is HT6? Yeah, ramps are very slow growing. Yeah, they take a long time to really get going, but once you get them going, they're kind of like asparagus, and it's another plant that I'm going to be experimenting with this year. I just don't. I need to create a dedicated bed for our asparagus because, yeah, they just don't. They take years to develop, and but once you get asparagus going, they continue to grow. And just do great. So, but things you want to do, and you can using grow veg. Grow veg costs, I want to say something like $24 a year. If you buy a 2 year, you kind of get a break on it. So like it's like $72 or $74 for 2 years of subscription. And then every year after that, it's I forget what their resubscription rate is, but I've been using Grow Veg now for several years. Used it when I was back in Texas. Used it when I actually lived in Panama. Panama had an insane garden, and so it's a great application. They're constantly upgrading it and doing more things, adding more things. And yeah, I am not getting a penny for this. It's just something I believe in. So I'm not getting any get a kickback or anything from Grove Edge. It's just a program that I totally love, totally believe in. You can try it for free for 7 days. And if anything, it's worth doing the free one and it's just maybe laying out your garden so that you can kind of get an idea of what your garden may look like. You know, print it out, take a picture of it, print it out so at least you have something, but you can throw something together on that and kind of get a great idea of what you're going to do. Deer should leave garlic alone. Yeah, they do. I had a friend who took a bunch of my walking onions to plant along their yard to deter deer. Yeah, we're again. I in fact, it's just interesting that you say that. This is one of my favorite heirloom seed companies, and it's called Oregano Republic. And I've had a lot of great success with this company. These are heirloom seeds, and that's all they do is heirlooms. And you can get them on Amazon and everything. But I really love Oregano Republic. But yeah, I've gotten a bunch of onions. I'm going to really go crazy on the onions this year, and then also shallots. I'm gonna look into getting some plugs for shallots and everything, as well as doing garlic. I got my garlic actually in the refrigerator right now. I know I'm late, but if anything, I'll get some young garlic out of it and use that, and if anything, turn it into garlic powder or something. But I had a friend take a bunch of my Michael Everling, 5x5. Good job, bud. So, things I want to really encourage you guys because February's coming up. And so we need to start planning our garden. We need to find a location. And I don't know, there's a lot of people out there who just, they want to keep their nice backyard and stuff. And I'm really encouraging people, folks, to dig that grass up and plant a stinking garden. you know, I think it's going to really help you augment your grocery bill. And that's again something else that I want to talk to you about tonight is augmenting your bill and really letting it, help by growing it yourself. You know what you're putting into it, you know what you're getting out of it. And by planting and using heirloom and everything, I'm not a big, huge, massive organic person. I will always use organic methods first, but if I find that they're just not working, I will switch over to man-made or chemicals or something like that. I don't want to see all my blood, sweat, and tears go down the pipes, just because of an organic issue or anything. But again, I will always work towards more of a natural organic method. But sometimes, man, these bugs and stuff, you just gotta, squirt something on them to get rid of them. And I've tried a lot of stuff too. So it is something. But one of the things that you want to do is really check your garden. And I found a great, and I've actually tried this. And so my soil is kind of on the loamish side, so a little more alkaline verdity. And you can um, if it's alkaline, take your soil, add some vinegar to it and a little bit of water and see if it bubbles. If it bubbles, then you've got a high alkaline. If your soil is acidic, add some water, some soil, and some baking powder to it and see if it foams. And if it foams, then you've got a high acidic. But this isn't super scientific. But another thing that I found, and I use this kit myself, is this is the luster leaf. And again, I'm going to be sharing a lot of URLs with you, but this is the luster leaf soil kit. And so I highly recommend that you test your soil because growing a garden is going to really take a couple years to get going and get good at it. Whereas the more things that you can put in your favor, the better. And so a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to plant a garden. They go up, till it, make it all nice and pretty, add some fertilizer to it and everything, and get a dud garden. And so I really highly recommend that you test your soil to really know what you got, what do you need to do to augment it and things. And then that way you're putting more odds in your favor to ensure that you and your family are going to be eating more this year, or at least augmenting your grocery bill. But Plotting out that garden, know where you are, kind of keep an eye on the sun, know where your sun and shades are, spots are, so that your veggies and everything, your fruits will get the maximum amount of sun. Also think about somewhat semi-shade veggies and plants that you can do, or at least plants that are shade tolerant, and check out some of those. And but plant your garden. And this is again why I love grow veg. Grow veg, you can put everything into your screen, and then you can go over to the plotter, and it tells you when to sow, when to indoor sow, when to outdoor sow, and then when to harvest. And what I'm doing this year is I'm putting a spring, midsummer, as well as a fall garden. Now, you have to have all these things on your screen. So even though I've laid it out nice and pretty, there's a lot of stuff on this side of the screen that you don't see. So because those are a lot of my midsummer to fall plants that I'm going to be planting, but they're still, by putting them on the screen, they get added to the plotter, and then you know when to sow, when to harvest, and everything, as well as rotate. And so by doing that, you're able to rotate your garden and get a spring, midsummer, and a fall of, and even a late winter. I'm going to be experimenting with some late winter crops this year, and seeing how that turns out. But the wonderful thing about Grow Veg too is they send you an email every other week of what you need to do. And so they send you reminders. I love that they send you reminders. Oh, you need to get these seeds in the ground. Oh, you need to get these things going. And so with everything going on in the world and everything, it's kind of hard to remember, oh, I need to harvest this, or oh, I need to rip that out, and or I need to get that into the ground, or I need to get this started. And Growth Edge will send you emails reminding you what to do and when to do it and everything, so that you stay on top of your garden. Excuse me. HT46 says, garden all my entire life. There's still years and that loose things, or they're just crops that have issues. Yeah, I totally agree. Granny Fabulous. Hey, Granny, a suggestion for indoor gardening. I live in a dorm style apartment. Um, a really good thing that I've been looking at are these hydroponic towers. And we're seeing more and more people start to use these in apartments. They are a little costly, because what they also have is they do have some lamps on them too, or these little lights that light up the tower as well. But I've been seeing more of those for apartment dwellers and everything, as well as if you have a little patio. I mean, think vertical. And what you can do is get some of these vertical planters and plant everything on your patio. So with these vertical planters, and I want to say each pot, I've seen them. I want to say that now with rate of inflation, the last time I saw them, they were something about $5 to $7 per pot, and they just stack on top of each other. And then what they do is you water on top, and the water just kind of trickles down. But what you want to do is just water, all the pots, so it continually drip. This isn't a hydroponic system where it's constantly pumping water through it or anything, but this is a great little gardening system. Tomatoes you can plant in pots, potatoes you can plant in pots. You can plant potatoes in a garbage can. And that's a great method, doing a layer style. Put it out on your patio, and so forth. And again, I'm assuming that you have a patio in your stuff, but if you're not, look into these hydroponic towers. Look in if you have a sunny area, like some glass doors or some windows, or something like that. Look into, again, anything that you can plant in your window, or at least close to that. Another solution is growing an indoor potted garden in an area with some growing lights, and just attach the lights to the ceiling, and grow stuff that way. I have not tried that. So but it is a method. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm sure there's some great YouTube videos out there. That's YouTube University. It's where everybody learns stuff. But you can start doing that. But again, planting your garden, and I've shown you some of these seeds. These are the onion seeds by Organic Oregano. I'm planting, or I'm actually building here in the next week or two, a potted herb garden. underneath our kitchen window. And so I've got a bunch of herb seeds here. And then last year, I planted a lot of this is their 25 seed pod, and this is a summer garden, and I love this. I planted almost everything in this pack, and all the seeds germinated. They are really, really great. And again, I've used this company before, but this is the first time planting a garden here in Virginia, and so using these as well, they totally, did it. I had some great germination, and I had some great plants. And in fact, here's the seeds that I use, the 25 pack seed, which is a great seed pack to start with and get you going. Um, but this I want to say is something around 23 dollars for 25s. And you get, gosh, how many seeds? I don't know. But they're just, what they got here is cucumber, spinach, zucchini, eggplant, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, bok choy, broccoli, collards, onions, radish, carrots, celery, okra, artichoke, beefsteak tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. I mean, all of that comes here in this pack. And again, I love this company. They're heirloom seeds, and I've used them and I love them. And so I always go back to this company for my heirloom seeds. Another company that you can look into is Victory Seeds. Another good, they're a good company. They're out, I believe, in Oregon or Washington, and I've used a lot of their seeds in the past too. I don't have their link, but I think it's victoryseeds.com. But check into that. But planting your garden, um, maintenance. You want to get some tools, and one of the things that I really learned in moving here, there were so many. We had some problems with our movers. I've got to be very honest with you, and they didn't pack everything that they were supposed to pack, and so a lot of my garden tools didn't make it, and I was very upset because we were here in Virginia and we were trusting the movers to pack up everything, and we had some people helping them. They're supposed to do it, and they didn't. And so I lost a lot of my garden tools. And but one of the greatest garden tools out there for that is a hula hoe. And so a hula hoe is incredible. I love my hula hoe. Another tool, and I got this here. I just again the tools that they left behind, but this is a Spetsnaz shovel, and I just ordered it, and I want to say this is something like $23, but it's a cold steel Spetsnaz shovel, and it's got a super short handle. And the wonderful thing about the Spetsnaz shovel is that it is meant to be used on your knees or even lying down in the prone position. You can dig a trench and stuff with one of these in the prone position. But it also serves as a great weapon. These are sharpened edges right here, and it is balanced so you can throw it like a tomahawk. So if you got some zombies coming up on you and everything, and you're working out in the garden during the apocalyptic times, you got a great shovel here that will just hack their heads and everything, or throw it and stick it right in there. But this is one of my favorite tools, and my other one got left behind. um, but again, it's $23, and I think I've even got a link for this for you. But that tool is incredible. I used it like crazy, and copy. But I used it like crazy. It's a great little tool. Because like I don't know about you, but I tend to be on my knees a lot and everything. I don't have really raised beds or anything, so I tend to be on my knees, or I have this little like stool for my garden that kind of is on rollers, and I'll roll around the garden and everything. But it's a perfect little height, and I love that shovel. Other tools that I love, and if you've read any of my articles or anything, I love my hori hori. I can't show you my hori hori, and because it looks like a knife. And if you show any knife on YouTube Live, they will shut down your video thinking that you're going to cut yourself and bleed out. So I can't show it to you. But I had this hori hori that I got from, I think, Walmart or Lowe's or somewhere. And busted. It busted right at the handle. I was trying to pry out a root ball and things, and it just bent and broke. And so the Hori Hori that I recommend is a company called Bare Bones. Bare Bones makes some incredible gardening tools, and they are, tough as steel. They are incredible. I love them a lot, and you will not, you know, there's the link for you. You can look at it and see what I'm talking about here. It kind of looks like a knife, but it's a spade. It's got a knife edge on one side and a kind of like a saw blade on the other, and it comes with a bottle opener too. But it is well worth the money. I think it's somewhere around 40 bucks or so. But I used my Hori Hori like crazy. I'm always use it to dig, use it to cut. Use it to all kinds of stuff. But my other one that I had, which was a cheap Chinese knockoff thing, broke. And so finally, I broke down and bought myself a bare bones Hori Hori. And then to follow that up, there is another tool. Let's see what I've got here in my notes. I remember it, the Pulaski. I don't know if you remember watching Naked and Afraid. We're a big Naked and Afraid fan. And you'll see these guys out there with this tool. It has an axe and kind of like a shovel on the backside, or a cup. So cups like this, and then an axe or hatchet on the other side, and it's called a Pulaski. And the one that they use on Naked and Afraid, and I've seen it on like 4 or 5 shows, is the bare bones Pulaski. Now this one again is like $145, but it is a great tool. I have to admit, I don't own one yet, but I am going to buy a bare bones, and I just see how versatile it is. I'm seeing how what I've got like 3 tools that I use where that Pulaski would replace everything. And but the Pulaski is a great garden tool. Here, let me see if I got the URL for that so you guys go look at it. There it is right there. But the Pulaski is a great tool for your garden, and then just other things you're going to need. I liked the little pointed hoe. I use that a lot. I use the hula hoe a lot. Garden gloves, garden shears. I didn't bring my shears down. I should have brought my shears down. I've got these little shears, and I just love those too. Again, one side has got a saw blade on it, another side's got a knife edge on it. It's a very thin set of shears, and I use those all the time to cut my veggies and go out and trim and cut my. You want to trim up your lower places on your tomatoes and trim up some of the lower dead growth and everything. I use that all the time. So tools are very important, great investment. Take it from me, folks. Don't buy cheap Chinese junk. If you can't afford the best, then yeah, go for it. But try to buy the best that you can with what you can afford, and then it will serve you properly. I go back to that Hori Hori that I was using, and it bent, and I was so frustrated. And things like, doggone it, why didn't I just go out and buy the bare bones one like I had my eye on in the first place? And so, you always want to. In fact, there's a picture of it right there. I don't know if you can see it. That's a picture of the Hori Hori, and it is a great tool. And then if you go to my website, RaymondMhor.com or thekiltedprepper.com, you'll see my article about getting your spring garden going. And I reference a lot of these things. But those are, it's important to get your garden going, get things moving, and so forth. Because again, I really strongly believe that this year is going to be very, very hard. And the thing is, because the price of fertilizer, diesel, and seed are going up dramatically, the yields this year are not going to be super great. I mean, last year the carryover was only 3 months, and we're going to be seeing that carryover basically empty out in March, and so we're going to run out of the carryover from the grains and everything in this coming year of March. Next year, because of production cost and output is so expensive this year, ranchers and farmers are cutting back. Ranchers and farmers are not growing as much crops as they can. They're not getting as many cattle or producing or putting, cattle out there as they can, because the production cost is just getting outrageous because of that, because of the diminished crops and the diminished livestock. We are going to see lower food output. And so next year, 2024, is the year that I am super concerned about, because we're not producing as much as we should be this year. Then next year, the carryover, we may not even see any carryover for next year coming into 2024. And then you think prices are going to be crazy now, prices then. And again, I really think strongly that people are going to be basically priced out of the food market, and or at least the healthy food, the good food. They're not going to be able to produce or afford good produce anymore or anything, and or they're not going to be able to afford these things. They are going to be living off of Lucky Charms and stinking cheese and crackers and other things like that. Jars of peanut butter and stuff. It's all, again, I go back to that stupid USDA food pyramid that they just came out. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know, they're smoking crack or something. I don't know. But I honestly believe that, it's the big corporations that are driving that food pyramid, and say, oh, wow, since we make Lucky Charms, we need to be pushing the Lucky Charms. So, of course, they're going to get some kickback and stuff. And it's going to, the outcome is a horrible diet for most Americans. So, but with the prices and everything that are going to be taking place, what I wanted to share with you is some strategies that you can leverage so that you can really do well at the grocery store. Let's see here. The Cobra Head is one of my favorite tools. Yeah, so that's what he calls it. Yeah, I got it from the maker USA made, actually Wisconsin made. I've had it for 6 years and it's still doing great. Yeah, the Cobra Head. And so you pay for good tools and they last you a lifetime. Even if the stick or handle breaks, you can just go out and buy a new handle and everything. It's the metal piece. It's this piece that matters. And in fact, you can see here, you can replace this handle. And in fact, they do make a little bit longer handle so that you can use this even more in the garden and everything. But you just unscrew it right here, pull the handle out, pop a new one in and everything. But it's this piece. I mean, super thick metal, and it's just, this thing will last a lifetime. I had my other Spetsnaz shovel easily 10 years, and all you do is just, sand off the rust or clean it off every spring and everything. And or in winter time when you're cleaning up your tools, clean it up, spray paint it black again, and you're good to go. So, but strategies, we are shifting gears here. Anybody have any questions that I can, I'm kind of in a mid segue here. Anybody have any questions that I can ask? I mean, ask me anything. I'll be glad to share. My forte is really homesteading. I'm also someone who believes more in bugging in than bugging out. And I'm not, I just ordered more seed. I need to stop. The one with the most seed when he dies wins. So yeah, you can never have enough seeds. Um, but yeah, any questions that you got, I'll be glad to answer. And again, my I tend to lean more towards the homestaying lifestyle versus the bushcraft lifestyle. I do not promote a bugging out situation. I believe in bugging in. I believe that to harden your property, I believe in, I mean, there's a lot of things that we've done to our property here to harden our security. And it's made it so that people really don't want to come check us out or anything like that. But that's what you want to do, is harden your security. And it's been a proven fact. The person who is defending their home always has the leverage and motivation versus the person who is attacking. And so, but yeah, any questions? Let's see, Grant, I'm starter of all this a few months ago. Well, good job there, Granny. Keep on pushing forward. I'd totally do it. Go to my website, Granny, kiltedprepper.com, thekiltedprepper.com, and I have a lot of articles. A lot of my articles are geared towards new preppers. And there's more and more people starting out today because more and more people are starting to wake up and smell the coffee. Thoughts on dogs for security? I love them. We, we in fact, we just got another dog last night. We adopted someone had a cute little dog that they could no longer keep and everything. So now we have 4 dogs, and our small dog, a Papillon, she wasn't here, um, but our Papillon, Daphne, is our alarm. She hears like crazy. She always hears everything first, and then our big dogs, take over. So she'll start barking, and then the big dogs go crazy. But Daphne hears the deer outside. I mean, she hears everything, and then the big dogs. I'm super huge fan of having dogs, and so now we've got 4 dogs, and but I totally believe dogs. People are afraid of dogs. I mean, it's been written about so many times and everything. And it was one of the reasons when I lived in Central America. In Central America, man, the folks in Costa Rica and Panama terrified of dogs. And so anybody who had dogs, never got robbed. And that was, because home theft is big down in Central America, and having dogs was quite a large deterrent. And so we never had any problems because we always had dogs. Let's see. Thank you for your support. I have a service pup. Hearing impaired person here. Okay. We have Irish Terrier who hates people, and we have an Ardale. Both are nuts. Uh, have a Chawini. Granny has a Chawini. We have our dogs are Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, and Freddie. And reason is because I brought Scooby back with me from Panama. I adopted him down there. He was a street dog, and he was only like a couple months old. And so his name was Scooby because he looks exactly like Scooby Doo. And if you go to my page and look through my photographs, you'll probably see my dogs. But Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, and Freddie. We just adopted Freddie last night. His name was Teddy from his previous owner, so Freddie fit right in. But yeah, we got the whole Scooby theme going on. My wife Cynthia is going to name some chickens Thelma, so at least we got the whole Scooby gang going and everything. I would totally walk past my house that day. Yeah, she is second Dale. I would have a Malinois. Malinois are great dogs too. Yeah, great dogs. A lot of police and military use Malinois. But so those are things that I believe in, and that kind of is where the direction that I tend to go. And I believe in gardening. I believe in hunting and fishing. If you don't have hunting and fishing skills, start building those skills. I believe those gardening skills, foraging. I'm big on foraging, and I'm constantly reading books on foraging. In fact, here is another book, and this is by Samuel Thayer. Samuel Thayer has a number of books out there that are great at wild edibles. And so I'm a big fan of Samuel Thayer. And if you ask anybody out there in the foraging arena, Samuel Thayer is like the guy. He's the guru. And so I love his books. But I'm constantly learning what's growing here. Because I lived in Panama and Costa Rica for 4 years, moved to Texas, lived there, and now we're here in Virginia. So I'm relearning all the plants and stuff. There's a lot of stuff here that I naturally know and things, but there's a lot of stuff here that I don't know. For example, I just discovered last year we've got spice bush in our woods, and spice bush is akin to allspice. And the leaves are edible. You can make great tea. You can make it's great in you can make tonic or bitters with them, and then you can dry the seeds out, and they have an allspice peppery sort of flavor and things. So I'm really big on foraging, and and then if you have the space or the area, or of an area, a good idea is to forest garden. And again, this is the book I highly recommend, Farm in a Forest. And so if you have a forest near you, that is in maybe walking distance or a field or something like that, consider just throwing some seed out there because if the crap hits the fan someday, you've got kind of a hidden garden going that a lot of people probably will not go around and check out and everything or forage or anything themselves. So consider growing also a sort of a forest garden or vacant lot garden or something like that by doing that. That's kind of like doubling up your food sources and stuff. But shifting gears here, how to save at the grocery store. And I recently wrote an article for Survival Home and Gardens, and you can check it out, survivalhomegardens.com. And they've got that going. Michael Hawk writes for them. EJ Snyder, several of the people from Naked and Afraid write for them. Hakeem, oh gosh, what's Hakeem's last name? He's the black MacGyver, but he writes for them as well and things. But I'm one of their writers for Survival Homes and Gardens. But I wrote an article on how to save and really, put things on a budget and how do you get prepping? Because that's one of the things that a lot of people ask me today. Oh, with prices so high and everything, how do you start prepping? And my first rule of thumb is what I call the $5 rule. Now, with the rate of inflation and everything, maybe this is a $7 rule or something like that. But what you need to do is sit down with you and yourself or you and your spouse and really determine a dollar value or a dollar amount that you are going to spend no matter what at the grocery store. And so be it $3, $5, 10, 20, whatever you can comfortably spend and make it a habit over and over again, you do that. And then every time you go to this grocery store, it doesn't matter if you're going to do a week's groceries or you're just going in there getting some bread and milk. Every time you step foot in the grocery store, you will buy that allotted amount of food for your pantry. And if you do that over and over again, you'll be amazed at how fast your pantry will grow. And so I call this the $5 rule because, if you go into into your Walmart, your Safeway, your Piggly Wiggly, or Kroger's or something, you can go and buy $5 this, buy a can of spam and buy, some beans or buy this, buy that. Um, you know, so doing that will help you get your preps going. Um, let's see. Uh, Granny says here, well, it's not a forest, but near my area, but we're moving. It's on a highway, unfortunately, so we have to gather different sticks. Are you going to do any videos out in the field, gardening, fishing, foraging? Yes, I am, Dale. Glad you asked that. One of the first videos that I am going to be doing is winter sowing. We're coming up here in February, and so I'm going to start doing some videos and showing you guys my winter sowing. And winter sowing, if you read the back of packages, the seed packages or something, it'll tell you, oh, you want to start these seeds in March or after your first, or, a month before your last frost date. Well, with winter sowing, what you can do is push that out even sooner. So our last frost date here is April 5th, I believe. And so what I'm able to do is they tell you then, well, maybe start doing your indoor sowing in March. Well, what you do with winter sowing is you push that out even further. And I live in zone 7B. And so zone 7B, you can start winter sowing in the middle of February. And what winter sowing is you take a milk carton, put some soil in it, cut it, do all that, basically making a little mini greenhouse. And so you're able to get your plants going. And by winter sowing, this hardens your plants. This is why the importance of heirloom seeds too. Because if you use all heirloom seeds, one of the things about heirloom seeds is you're able to collect seeds and save your seeds, and they will plant them over and things, and they'll grow again. But by seasonizing or winterizing them, the seeds then become accustomed to your area. Now, I can't remember where these seeds are grown in Florida. And so what they will do is by winterizing them or doing a winter garden or doing winter sowing, these seed crops, next year's seeds that I collect from this year's garden will be hardened and used to our area versus seeds coming from Florida or seeds coming from one area or another or something like that. So what you're doing is you're hardening your seeds, you're getting them used to your area and everything, and you're able to get your plants in sooner. So that by the time where you're able to actually put the plants in the ground, once the ground is warm enough, you're going to have some great healthy plants, and you're going to get a jump on your garden by maybe about 1 to 2 months. 2 months, that's my plan, is to have all my plants in the ground, in the very beginning of April. But I'm going to winter sow them and get them going, and then get them used to the cold, used to our weather and stuff, so that they'll perform rather well. But the seeds that I gain from this year's harvest will be already regionalized in a sense. So if that makes sense to you, I know I'm maybe not making sense, but I'm going to be winter sowing. So yes, Dale. Long story short, yes, I am going to be doing some videos out in the field. I'll be showing you my garden. I'll be showing you my winterizing. I'm getting ready I have my ramp seeds in the freezer right now, and I'm gonna get those going here soon and get those out in the forest. I'm gonna be ordering some hen of the wood mushroom fungus plugs and get those going into some oak trees. It's about ready to get those things moving. If it isn't, let's see. So yeah, again, winter sowing. So about February, I can get those plugs in the wood and get those moving. So that around fall time, we'll at least be able to start harvesting some of the hen of the woods. And again, these are funguses or mushrooms, but hen of the woods are really big and they're very tasty. They actually taste like chicken. What doesn't taste like chicken? But they do taste like chicken. But they're very good for you, very healthy, and they're huge. And so you can do some great things with, including dehydrate them. And if you have a freeze dryer, you can freeze dry them as well. But they're very flavorful, very good, and very, very easy to grow. So, but hen of the woods. So I digress. So other tips that you can use to get your prepping pantry going while on a budget. Dale says, I used to live in Shenandoah Valley in VA. I have been in upstate New York for over 30 years now. It was a huge learning curve. Yeah, we live in the Roanoke Valley. So we live in the Roanoke area, kind of right between the Blue Ridge and the Appalachians. So strategy number two, first strategy rule was $5 rule. Set a price and buy it every time. And then number two, set realistic target goals. You see so many people out there go, I'm going to get 500 pounds of rice and 500 pounds of this and 500 pounds of that. That's not realistic. Get some realistic goals, and then I always say, shoot for small. So if you're just beginning, start with 7 days. After 7 days, shoot for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, shoot for 1 month. After 1 month, shoot for 3 months, and so forth and so on. By having small, attainable goals, you'll see your pantry grow and your preps grow a lot faster because you're paying attention to them and you're seeing them take place right before your eyes. So make small, attainable goals, and that pantry will grow like crazy. Strategy number three is double what you eat. And so if you eat, Campbell's clam chowder, if you're going to buy 2 cans for your family, we'll buy another 2 cans for your pantry. And so just double what you eat. And by doing that, you'll see your pantry grow rather quickly as well. And another plan something I do all the time, Kroger's. And I don't know if you guys have a Kroger's near you or not, but Kroger's, if you get the Kroger's card, there's some great deals. And then if you download the Kroger's app, they have digital coupons too. And I really shop Kroger's hard, and specifically with the digital coupons and the sales and everything. And that tends to be what I shop for all the time. I'm always stocking up maybe on our fresh stuffs, particularly now in the winter time when our garden isn't going and everything, but milk and so forth. I'm always, I always try to keep like 3 gallons of milk on hand, and I constantly rotate and all this other stuff. And I've been stocking up on eggs, and in fact, we're going to be getting chickens this year. And so you'll be seeing, Dale, you'll be seeing videos of the chicken tractor that we are going to be getting. And it's made by Eggloo, a company by Omelette. It's over in the UK. And it is a portable chicken tractor slash chicken coop. And in all the research that I've done, it's actually a lot better and a lot more affordable versus building one on our property. And when you start seeing some of my videos later, and when I start going outside more often and everything, you'll see we've got sloped land and everything. So it's really hard to find a flat spot for the chickens and building a chicken coop and everything. So we're going with kind of a modified chicken tractor so that we can roll it all over the yard, roll it up the hills, down the hills, and so forth. So we're going to be you know having our eggs supplied to us that way as well. And then any excess, yes, we're going to water glass our eggs and preserve them that way as too. Um, I had no luck trying to grow mushrooms outside, so I'm very interested in that. Can you grow them inside from a kit? Yes, you can. But yeah, you pointed out they are expensive. But if you learn how to take a piece of wood, um, get some of the oak and things, and in fact, you can go down to like Lowe's or Home Depot and buy the oak firewood. But what you need to do is you need to like boil it, or you need to like stick it in your oven and keep it at a low temperature, low enough where it'll kill any microbes in there, but hot enough to kill the microbes, but not hot so it'll burn. But you can get some pieces of oak from Lowe's and Home Depot and basically neutralize them, and you can grow that way. Uh, Being honest, I've grown mushrooms before, and I've just used wood from Home Depot, and not even done the whole make it sanitary and stuff like that. I've just brushed on the goop and or drilled them in holes, and I've had no problems. So you can do that and grow them indoors. It does need kind of a from what I've seen by growing them indoors, you need to kind of have an enclosed area so it has enough humidity and things. But when I lived in Panama, we grew mushrooms down there too. Shiitakes grow really great down there. And all I did is I just chopped down a tree, bored some holes, and stuck in plugs, and we got shiitakes like crazy coming out our ears. So there's some right ways, and then there's kind of like cutting the curbs a little bit. But, if you've got the spores and stuff like that, then, it's you just do it, and you'll find what works and what doesn't work, you know. I water glass eggs in the spring for winter use. Yeah. Rabbits are easy, quiet, protein even. I've really strongly thought about rabbits, but my wife and daughter, I mean, putting down rabbits and everything like that, I mean, it's gonna be hard enough to cull the chickens. It's gonna be really hard to if we, ate rabbit all the time and stuff. They're gonna name them Fluffy and stuff. They've already, for during hunting season, for example, this year, they were naming all the deer. And so the rule was any deer that had a name, I wasn't allowed to shoot. And so all the deer that came by got named. And so I started naming them Filet and Mignon and everything. So if I named them first, I got dibs on it and stuff. But going back and helping your pantry grow is by shop the sales and really leverage those coupons, really leverage those digital coupons. One of the things that you want to look at when you're really wanting to really push your pantry and grow it really in a big way is shop during the holidays. We have Valentine's Day coming up. We have St. Patrick's Day coming up. We have Easter coming up. Valentine's Day, look for steak on sale and some of those romantic dinner stuff. Look for stuff like that on sale. And then the day after Valentine's Day, watch for, I know Kroger's has manager specials. And so watch for the manager specials that of the Valentine fancy food that didn't get sold, gets put over in the clearance area. And so you're really able to take advantage of that. With St. Patrick's Day, you're going to have corned beef and cabbage going on sale. And then also beer. I don't know if you saw my latest video. I talk about some of the things that are going to be higher in price. Beer, beer is going to be hard to come by, And reason is because there's aluminum shortage as well as a CO2 shortage. And so if you enjoy beer, you may want to stock up on beer. Now the negative is you can't really store beer for a very long time because it goes skanky. But so you got St. Patrick's Day, Easter. Everybody loves Easter, so start looking for ham and some of the other Easter. You're going to see Easter candy. You're going to see other Easter sort of dinner foods. But when I think of Easter, I primarily think of ham. And so hams, you're going to see those really start to go on sale. So shop the holidays. Holidays are a great time to really stock up on these specific foods. During Thanksgiving, I bought several cases of green beans, several cases of corn and stuff because those are kind of Thanksgiving food, and Walmart had that on sale for 50 cents a can. So I decided to stock up on those. So if you leverage and take advantage of the holidays and really look for those holiday foods to go on sale, then that's a great time to, kind of ramp your pantry up in certain areas. And so, need to start brewing your own. Yeah, I do. No, I don't. I do enjoy wine. I enjoy fermentation, and so wine and mead is what I like. Eventually, what we're gonna be doing is putting in some beehives, and so I wanna start producing my own honey and stuff, but I do enjoy good mead. So, but buying during the holidays, um, another tip is shop meals. Now, what I mean by that is it's so hard for people to keep track of calories and, oh, I've just got so many calorie input here and this and that. I shop meals. And so for example, a large 2-pound pack of linguine will give me 2 meals, or is it 1 pound? It's a 1-pound pack of linguine. For us, I can split that in half, and that's 2 meals. So by a 1-pound pack, if I've got 14, packs of linguine, that gives me 28 dinners. And so by shopping meals, that gives you a better idea of how many meals you've got. And that's kind of how I also set up my pantry. My pantry has a breakfast area, kind of a lunch dinner area or a lunch area or snacks and lunch and kind of midday food, and then dinners. And so that's kind of how I have my pantry set up, is so that I can see what I got and everything. But I tend to prep meals. And so I always know how many meals I've got and how much of this I got and how much of that. How many meals do I have? So that's another good way to kind of get your pantry going on a budget. Uh, Another way, finally, buy in bulk. Buy in bulk is incredible. And then by buying in bulk, you're able to save a lot. For example, I shop at the Mennonite store for my dry goods. We have a Mennonite. If you have a Mennonite store around you, leverage that. They have some incredible stuff. Um, but this is where I buy my wheat, my rice, my oats, my other things, all my dry goods and so forth is at the Mennonite store. And so you'll see, these small bags of you know, wheat pearls going for like 7, 10, $12 on Amazon or some store or something like that, where you can get a 50-pound bag at the Mennonite store for $35. And so that fills 2 5-gallon buckets. And by doing that, what you want to do is I Walmart right now, or at least our Walmart all the time, has food grade buckets on sale almost all the time. They keep going in price from about 350 to about 475 depending on the season, but they always got them. But white food grade buckets are incredible. But I'm a huge, massive fan of gamma lids, and gamma lids are these things that you can put on food grade buckets, and they put a screw top on them, and that allows you to get in and out of your 5-gallon bucket without having to pry that stupid lid on and off all the time. But gamma lids also will help you keep the critters out. Now, anything that I put into 5-gallon buckets, I also use oxygen absorbers, and I think these are 3,000 cc oxygen absorbers. So for one 5-gallon bucket, you can use one. I tend to use two. I'd rather have overkill than anything. but by putting oxygen absorbers in your buckets, it will automatically kill any sort of eggs or anything like that. A lot of people say, "Oh, I need to put it in the freezer and wait 2 weeks and then take it out and let it air dry and blah, 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 blah." No, just stick it in your 5-gallon bucket, put it a Gamma lid because the Gamma lid has a rubber seal on it, so it's airtight and critters will not get into it. But if you put some good oxygen absorbers in there, it takes the oxygen out. The critters die because no matter what you store, you will have critters in that grain or so forth. So you can't get rid of them. But the only way you can get rid of them is by going through that long freezing and drying and all that other process, or just stick it in a 5-gallon bucket, screw down a Gamma lid, and I put 6,000 cc's in each, 5-gallon bucket, and that will create an airtight seal that'll take all the oxygen out of the can or out of the bucket, and it will help preserve your food, and you'll be able to keep it much longer and help you. And again, buying in bulk is the way to go. And then finally, tip number 8 on what you can do is cook big meals and then freeze them or freeze dry them or dehydrate them or put them in the freezer. And what we do, I'm always making big meals, and either we eat off of it for several days, or whatever excess that we have, I always, either freeze it or I dehydrate it. I'm a big person. I love my dehydrator. I'm using it all the time. And in fact, those leftovers, like you cook corn or beans or something, and you got like, half a serving of beans and nobody wants it. And so you're going to stick it in the refrigerator and 6 months later it turns into a science experiment. Don't. I always take all those things, I throw them instantly into my dehydrator, dehydrate them, and I keep a jar by my dehydrator. And for all these leftover foods, I instantly dehydrate it, and then I dump it in my mason jar. My mason jar has an oxygen absorber in it as well. And that way, what you're doing is basically creating meals in a jar, and you're not throwing away any of your leftovers or stuff that may not, or it's just not enough to really, you know, store in the refrigerator for the next day or next science experiment or something like that. But I've got an Excalibur dehydrator. I love this thing. I've been dehydrating for years now. But this it is one it is one of the best kitchen tools we have is our dehydrator. And I just love it to pieces because it saves us money and we don't throw anything away. I'm always looking in fact, right now, I have kale dehydrating in my dehydrator right now. And so what I do with the kale is I got a mason jar specifically for greens. And so during last year, we had a lot of radish and turnip greens. And so we ate as much as we could, but I dehydrated quite a bit. And then I powder it and stick it in a jar. And you always want to have greens and everything. So by producing your own greens or dehydrated greens, you're paying. I mean, gosh, you see how much they cost for those little jars of greens that you add to your smoothies and everything. Same thing. I'm just producing my own greens, but having jars of powdered greens on hand is really good to have, especially during the winter time. And so our jar, I think we've got maybe that much left. I mean, I had a huge big jar, a jar and a half actually of dehydrated green powder, but we've been using it and we use it in a lot of stuff. You can sprinkle it on eggs. You can use it in rubs. I mean, there's so many things, so many applications that you can use powdered veggie greens and leverage that. But they're super high in minerals and vitamins and just really, really good for you. But we never throw any greens away and I'm always dehydrating them. But again, my dehydrator is one of my primary tools that I use in the kitchen, and it helps me create my own long-term food. A lot of the long-term food that you dehydrate will last 15, 20, 25 years if you properly put it in a mylar bag or I use mason jars a lot with oxygen absorbers. Um, and then, but because our pantry is pitch black, and so some people don't like it because, oh, the light will get to it. Well, we don't have any light. It's in our basement. It's pitch black. So I use a lot of mason jars and things like that to for our dehydrated stuff. So That's next on my wish list. Move buckets with lids. Yep, that's smart. Can I can use a simple dehydrator. Yeah. So, but dehydrating is a big thing, but cook big meals and then freeze it, dehydrate it. If you're lucky enough to have a freeze dryer, then freeze dry your stuff. But by cooking big meals, you're able to add to those meals. Again, my prepping plan is I prep by meal. I don't prep by calorie or anything like that. I prep by meal. And so by making a double pot of soup, some of the soup is what we eat off of, another is what we suck the air out of and freeze it. And in fact, food saver, our food saver is something else that we use quite a bit. And I love my food saver. I'm always using it. In fact, there's the link to what we have. But a food saver is another great kitchen tool that I highly recommend to get. It's a great way by buying in bulk. So if you buy meat or other things in bulk, you can break it up, put in food saver bags, throw it in the freezer, and mark the date on it. And you've got, again, you're building by meal versus building by calories. So that's everything that I've been got for you and everything. Anybody got any questions? I'd be glad to take some questions here. Dale says, I dehydrate wild lamb quarters, the plant, not the animal. I mean, veggies. I mean, the greens. It's a great way to create green powders. But anybody got any questions? Eggshells, if you freeze and use with soil. The eggshells, I have a worm composter, and so I use a lot of my eggshells in our worm composter. Now there is a formula to where you can take your eggshells, break them up, save them, and then add some white distilled vinegar to them, and it helps break them down a little bit, and then add a lot of water to that and use that specifically on your tomato plants. Your tomato plants really benefit from that extra calcium and stuff, but it's something that you can use in your garden and will help your garden grow better. You don't want to use it a lot, but it is a way to get good calcium into your soil and things. Or you can just break up the soil and plant it right there in the soil itself, and it'll break down itself. But I do have a worm bin, and we throw a lot of our scraps in our worm bin, and that's another thing that you can do too to help your garden. Is I use our worm castings or worm poo, but by having a two-layer worm bin, a lot of the drippings and worm pee gets cast off. That worm pee is liquid gold, and I save it. I just keep a milk jug, I pour it in there, and then I just pour a little bit into another milk jug or our watering plant, our watering thing, and that is incredible fertilizer. So the plants will just flourish like crazy with worm pee and worm poo. But worm castings are inexpensive. I want to say there's something like $12 for a little bag, about yay big. And it'll really help, especially if you're doing indoor plants or have potted gardens. Worm castings are incredible and really help your garden grow. Um, let's see here. Faye is so interested. I'm happy to come to now. I'm glad you came here, Granny. Do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe. And in fact, all of you, please like, share, subscribe my channel, share it with everybody. I'm really working hard to get out there. I'm really working hard at helping the new prepper. I am really noticing that there are a lot of new people coming into the prepper community. And something that's sad is that a lot of the hardcore prepper community, they don't want to deal with newbies. And so I really feel it my calling to help the newbie get going and everything. I'd rather have allies than enemies. I'd rather have you be a prepper than being one of the bad guys that I have to take out during the apocalypse or something like that. But more people who are preparing, the better. One, by being prepared, you're not pulling from the resources that are going to be needed and everything. I mean, the last time I've done a big grocery shopping is maybe 3-4 weeks ago. I don't do big grocery shoppings anymore. We live off our pantry and we live off of our preps, and we just constantly rotate, and I just fill in holes. So we've gotten to that point, and so I'd rather have more preppers than allies and enemies. Um, uh, I've subscribed, a newbie. Well, Granny, I'm glad you're here. And if you ever see anything that you want me to talk about or anything you want me to make videos on or anything, I am going to be starting my winter sowing here. I am going to be starting my gardening here. I am going to be doing some forest gardening this year. And again, if you joined late, forest gardening takes a while to get established. It takes about 1 to 3 years for the plants and everything that are forest gardened to really get going. For example, ramps. I'm experimenting with ramps this year, and experimenting with into the woods and some of the other funguses or mushrooms and everything, because the area that we live in is so mushroom and fungus friendly. It's so I'm gonna be doing a lot of that, and then I'm gonna be looking into other things that I can plant. What other trees, and for example, here in our area or in the mid South, they have what's called pawpaw, and so I'm going to be planting some pawpaw trees. And again, anything that I can use and leverage in our forest above and beyond what I grow in my garden is the goal. I'm moving, but I put my stuff in boxes and bags. People can see what it preps. Good idea, Granny. So, but those are things that I'm going to be doing. And then as time goes on, too, I enjoy doing gear review. Anything that I do a gear review on is something that I do use. And so I have it. People, companies don't send me stuff to do reviews and everything like that. This stuff that I use. And again, I don't believe in being cheap. I believe in saving up your money and buying the item one time, and then it'll last you for years. And by investing in good, solid prep tools, for example, dehydrator, save your money up, get an Excalibur versus going out and buying what I call the Ronco dehydrator, these round stackable things. You can't control the temperature. It doesn't have forced air. It basically just cooks. It's a beef jerky machine, is all it is. It's all it does. And so, by having an Excalibur, my Excalibur is over 10 years old. It's still running like a workhorse. They are built in America. They are built tough, and they're meant to last. So buy something good and don't buy cheap Chinese crap. Again, my hori hori thing. If you missed that, I had a hori hori I bought from the Big Lot store or from Lowe's or something. And it's cheap Chinese crap. After the third root ball that I was trying to pull up and everything, the handle bent. And so by buying something good like Bare Bones, a company called Bare Bones, their garden tools are just insane. And I'll do some videos on those so that you can see them. But if you scroll up and look through the links, you'll see the links to the Bare Bones, but particularly the Hori Hori and the my brain just farted just now. Um, oh gosh, what was it? The Pulaski. Sorry about that. But the Pulaski are some great tools, and as well as this cold steel Spetsnaz shovel. You know, never gonna die on you. The handle may break, but you get another handle, very easy peasy. But invest in good tools. So, um, so that's everything I got for you, folks. You know, do you use a sun oven? I love sun oven. I know the CEO of the company is a friend of mine, and but I used to have two of them, and I sold them while I was down in Central America. And I sold them to some folks down there. I know a guy in Panama who owns a restaurant, and he was just dying to have them. So when I left Panama, I sold them to him, and now I wish I didn't, because I miss my sun oven like crazy. But sun oven has got to be one of the best out there, and Forrest puts out an incredible product, and they are well worth their money. They pay for them. So I'm a big fan, and I need to. That's one of the holes that I need to fill, is a sun oven. Get another one, and stuff. So, but check out sunoven.com. Definitely one of the best out there. I have two, one much older, one newer. That's awesome. You know the owner. Yeah. Forest. And in fact, a little sideline here. Go to preppernet.net. Preppernet.net. Let me type this for you. Preppernet.net. And this is a great organization. Forrest, who's the owner of and CEO of Sun Ovens, started this. And what he's doing is he's building prepper communities or helping prepper communities around the US connect. And they're very active. Now, a lot of them are here, a lot because PrepperNet started in North Carolina. So a lot of PrepperNet is here in the eastern half of the US, but it is expanding. And I want to say they got something like like 100,000 members or something like that. But check it out. I'm very involved on PrepperNet. In fact, I'm one of the city leaders. So I'm in charge of the Roanoke Salem area, and what I'm doing here is building our local preparedness community. And the great thing about doing that is that you've got people that you can trust, people that you can barter with, people that you can trade with, people. PrepperNet, they're big on communications and stuff. So a lot of classes and so forth. But check it out, preppernet.net. They have preppernet.com, and that's kind of an older website, but go to preppernet.net and it will. But check it out, sign up. It's free to sign up, but what you want to do is you want to subscribe, something like $40 a year. Big deal. But the information there is incredible. They have so many great forums and so much information. But I love the community, and that's why I got involved with PrepperNet. But Forrest is the CEO of Sun Ovens, and he's also the originator or the author of PrepperNet. And then also I'm on their board. I'm one of their experts or experts or something. I forget what he calls them, but I'm one of the board of advisors and everything. So check it out, preppernet.net. And if you happen to see it, tell them Raymond Mhor, the Kilted Prepper, sent you. And in fact, you can go and you can sign up for my page too, where I'm constantly putting information and articles and so forth, videos and so forth there at PrepperNet. So that's everything. I really appreciate you guys coming. I really appreciate you guys holding out here me and listening to me. Hopefully this was educational for you. If there's anything that you would like for me to talk about or discuss or anything like that, I'm really looking forward to doing maybe this weekly. And I want to start doing Saturday nights. And so I make the same bat time, same bat channel, so that y'all get into a habit and we all start getting to know each other better and everything. But please let me know, Ray at RaymondMhor.com, Ray at RaymondMhor.com, MHOR.com, or you just go to RaymondMhor.com or thekiltedprepper.com. It's the same website. But hit my contact button and let me know what is interesting to you and what you'd like to learn more about or something. And I'll be glad to spend an evening and we can sit here and chat and I can answer questions and so forth and so on. So, but I really thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't, make sure you like, subscribe, and share and tell others about it. And then keep your Saturday nights free so we can sit and chat. So that's everything, folks. I just thank you again so much. We'll see you. Goodbye. God bless. I'm Raymond Ward, the Kilted Prepper. Kilt on.